Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome an accomplished entrepreneur and professional from Salt Lake City, USA, Mr. Daniel Borba. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Daniel is the Chief Executive Officer of SparkPortal. So, Daniel, let me start by asking you, what was the inspiration to create SparkPortal and introduce video as a service model?
So that's a interesting question, an interesting story.
Mhm.
I did not have a specific plan when I started this, and I just knew I wanted to create something different because my background is freelance animation,
Mhm.
and I sort of landed in the software space.
Mm.
And transitioning from freelancing to creating an agency, a business model, I quickly realized that it's very hard to grow an agent, the traditional agency model,
Mm.
because you're always having to hire people, fire people,
Yeah.
hire like get new clients and let go of old clients, and then you have to provide new services, and it's just such a monster
Mm.
to accomplish. And then on top of that, I noticed that sort of the traditional agency model
Mm.
is incentivized by one-off projects or hourly rate. And so I said, I want to create something new that is, it gives us a little bit more leverage. It allows us to collect a little bit more money,
Mhm.
create a longer term relationship, but also it gives more value to the customer.
Mm.
And so I said, okay, let me come up with a video as a service
Mm.
offering. And so that's how Spark Portal came to
Amazing.
be.
Amazing.
And it was right around 2017, 2019, where we decided to kind of like try it out. And our first
Wonderful.
customer was right before COVID, actually.
Yes, yes, yes. And why do SaaS and B2B companies need a continuous video strategy rather than a one-off
Interesting.
production?
Well, the name of the game
Mhm.
is speed.
Mm.
And and I want to be clear here, not just speed for the sake of doing things fast.
Mm.
What I mean is strategic speed.
Yeah.
And what that means is we want to make sure, so software companies are really good at creating products from a development team and kind of like offering it to a market, building a product that is not necessarily fully flushed out,
Mm.
but it works, and so they can test it, and they start building, selling it before they build it, right, kind of thing. So the reason why we decided to focus on software companies
Mhm.
is because they need video content to create demand and also engage their pipeline, right? The
Mm.
prospects and sales. And so that's where the idea came from.
Mhm.
It was a good fit. Another reason why we decided to focus on software is because a lot of their video content can be easily produced remotely
Mhm.
through animation, demos, screen recordings, and now more than ever,
Yeah.
remote interviews, right?
Correct.
And so now you can completely do it, launch and execute a video content strategy
Mhm.
completely remotely.
Mm.
You don't no longer need in-person video shoot. It's nice to have, sure,
Yeah.
but it's not needed to to support a marketing team with video content.
Right. Great response. And what are some of the biggest misconceptions SaaS marketers have about video marketing?
I think we all have so many misconceptions, right?
Right.
Um, I think number one, excuse me, I think number one, and I wouldn't say in any specific particular
Mhm.
order, but
Yeah. Yeah.
one of the biggest misconception is that, uh, which I understand why it's a misconception, but video takes a long time to produce.
Correct.
That's a misconception. Another misconception is that quality needs to be super, super high. And so they end up overspending for the name of, in the sake of quality, when in reality, maybe a lower level quality that is still good enough, but now and then also reduce the time frame that it takes to produce and launch new videos.
Yeah.
And so those are the two, but I would say probably the biggest one misconception is that video needs to be high quality.
Mm. Very interesting. And you know, when I was reading about you and preparing for my conversation, I was fascinated to read that the WaaS model democratizes high quality video production for startups and mid-sized SaaS businesses. Tell me more and give me an example if you can.
Yeah. So the dynamic of uh, the hourly rate and the single project, the one-off dynamic, right? So in other words, if a software company they say that they need 3 videos,
Yeah.
right? Well, what's their step number one? Step number one is to go get quotes from different agencies, and they look at their options. They say, okay, well, we have these agencies. They charge us X amount of dollars to produce 3 videos. Great. The other option is to go through the freelancing route, meaning they charge this much per hour, and it should take about this many hours. Well, the challenge with those two options is that it creates an incentive problem, meaning once you assign a project to an agency or hire them, the agency's incentive is to do it as quickly as possible to get paid and to finish the project. And sure, there is some motivation to do a good job to get hired again.
Right.
Sure. But on the other side, you also have the hourly rate. And so what's the motivation there? The motivation there is to inflate the project and charge for additional stuff so that I can charge more hours. And so now you have these two discrepancies in motives that don't work for your benefit if you're a software company or a marketer.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's why we came up with video as a service, because we don't come up with a certain number of videos. We take care of production and the strategy. And so since we are paying us a fixed amount every month, our incentive is that you stay with us every month, but we also teach you on how to produce videos, and also we teach you about strategy, which is often the part that the marketer usually misses, because
Right.
video is a highly technical skill thing to achieve, and it requires multiple skills. So it requires animation, video editing, design, project management, video recording, videography, post-production, content marketing, content strategy, messaging. So you have all these skills that it's really hard to get into from one person or one agency. And so that's the what we try to accomplish with this new model is to create a more realistic dynamic. And so our motive was, hey, we want you to spend more money with us, but we don't want you to spend money at the expense of your benefit, right? And so what this has created is a more level playing field to provide more value, but also have the client invest in a longer partnership. And so our profit comes not only initially, but more so in the long-term part of the contract. So we leave a little bit of money on the table in the initial engagement, but we're looking at this as a 2 or 3 or 4 year thing. And so that's a long-winded answer to say.
It's a great response. But a follow-up question for you, Daniel, is that what are the challenges SaaS companies face with video production that they are not able to do themselves and therefore have to come to you?
So everybody knows, and it's fully they're fully on board with the idea of producing more videos until they have to do it themselves. And so why? Because of the fact that if you want to create videos for demo videos, for example, then you have to learn to create screenshots and record screens and put it to video editing. You need to add music. And so now, if you're not skilled in the area, you're not going to create quality video for your company. Also, it takes a lot of learning.
Correct.
And so that's kind of like the weak spot. I would say the top weak spot for marketers is strategy. So video content should not be approached as hey, here's what we want. We want X, Y, Z. It should be approached with, we should do an audit to understand better if these ideas that we have are actually necessary. And so you need to come up with a distribution plan, content strategy, topic, and sort of like a video structure, video script structure. And it needs to be, so the strategy leads the tactic. And so the strategy leads the production. And so it also, the production needs to match the strengths and weaknesses of the resources of that software company. So to give you a very real case,
Yeah.
on average, we try to reach about 100 to 150 like individual videos for the client. And so that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But by the time you account individual social clips, webinars, repurposing, interviews, explainer videos, and all these other video initiatives, that's how many videos you want. You want to have about 6 to 7 videos going out every month or more. And so what happens is we need to make sure that the strategy is matching, the tactics in terms of the videos that we're producing needs to match the strategy, not only for marketing, but the strategy for the business as well. And so oftentimes there's this misalignment. And I would say that that's the biggest missed opportunity for marketers, is to get alignment on the things that they do on a daily basis, especially with video.
Well said. But a more basic question, Daniel, why is video an essential growth driver? And I'm, using these words from your own data that you sent to me, rather than just a marketing asset.
So the reason for that is because right now video is hot.
Correct.
And we are in a time where video content gets attention just because it's video, right? It's kind of like when websites started to become an important part of marketing. Like, it was new, so it gets a lot of attention. Same thing with, when, let's say, a certain marketing tactic came, like it will be famous, right? So like podcasting right now is very hot. It's still very hot. So when you try to jump on those trends, it's going to help you create relevancy in the stuff that you do.
Interesting. And what advice would you have for teams that feel they lack the expertise to create video content? And of course, one is, called SparkPortal, but what else?
Yeah. So I would say educate yourself on what is needed to win. And so I'm going to go a little bit of, and I know that people love to have like bullet point lists, and that's great. But what we're missing today is this lack of hunger for strategic thinking and strategy.
Right.
But it has to do with the fact that we've come from this world of, you can try email marketing, you can try LinkedIn, you can try all these tactics, and for the past 10 years, they've worked. Yeah. So you didn't have to do a lot of like strategic thinking or creative thinking. You just had to kind of like go on Google, search how to do it, and then boom, try it.
Yeah.
But now that the market is softer, now that the market is a little bit tighter, we're having to compete with other businesses. And so now we're competing for the same dollars, and not so much with direct competitors, but also with like other departments, right? Like, oh, we're cutting down department budgets and merging departments and merging this and that. And so now money's tight. So that means we need to start creating more value. We need to start creating new ideas, new ways of communication, new ways of approaching the same thing that we would approach before. And so what that means is, I think that what we need to focus on is mostly understanding that things have changed, and now we cannot rely anymore on tactics alone. We need to have like a unique strategic plan that is rooted in specific things that are relative to you and to your market. You cannot rely on playbooks anymore, because one playbook is not going to work for another company. It's not going to work for several companies. And the last thing I'll say about this is, an example of this is AI. So because now AI, you can create content. So that's great, awesome, until everybody can create content. So now the content that you created lost its value. So now you need to create content that is not just content, but it's like really good content. So the bar has been raised. If you really want to stand out, you need to raise the bar. And so I think the same thing is happening in our world today. And so I think that that's where we should focus ourselves. Is like
Interesting.
we need to focus on strategy
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. And, following up from what you've just said, and you've said a few times how important strategy is, and you just spoke about AI. I wanted to ask you, how is AI going to impact production? You told me, but how will it impact marketing strategy?
So when I get asked about AI, I usually like to talk about the past 18 months instead of talking the future, because everybody talks about the future. Let's talk
Yeah.
about what just happened.
Mm.
So we went from having to, so let's say traditionally it would take us, 3 weeks to create an explainer video.
Mm.
Well, now with AI, we can cut down that time
Mm.
because we can have our instead of providing an actual voiceover and waiting to record it, like send the script to somebody,
Mm.
have them record it, send it back to me, send it to the client for approval. Now we could just use AI to kind of like record the voiceover like initially.
Mm.
And now we don't have to wait 2 days. So that boom, huge savings in time.
Mm.
And now we just send the voiceover, the AI voiceover to the client for approval. We still send it for recording afterwards, but now we've cut down the amount of revisions and the back and forth, right, in the process. That's one way we're using AI today, and we've used it before. Another way is there's this cool, awesome tool called Descript. And so what Descript does is we take interviews and it creates a transcript automatically. And so now when you're editing video, you can actually see and read what the interviewer and the subject matter expert says. Now, for some of us, we're so used to it because it was like things have changed and like, oh, that's great. Yeah, we already know about this, Daniel.
Yeah.
Well, but what has that done? Well, it actually has empowered the video editor because the video editors are not messaging experts. They're not marketing experts. They're just creative minds, right? And so now you've just empowered a creative mind to do a task that they wouldn't probably do a good job before, but now they can because they're empowered by the AI.
Yeah.
So because they can read. And so you can use AI to say, okay, give me a script, give me a few lines from this video that talks about this topic in this tone. And so it gives you ideas. So now it cuts down the time of experimentation for creative people.
Right.
And so those are two substantial ways that we've used AI in the past year.
Great response.
And it's cut down our time dramatically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
oh, wait.
sorry, go ahead.
Basically, the other thing that I'm very excited for the future is applying the same thing to other roles. For example, I'm very excited for After Effects and Premiere to come up with even more AI features. I'm very excited for Illustrator and Photoshop to come up with more AI features like they have been in the past. And so, but one in particular will be After Effects. I think that software could really use some help with AI, and it'll be a huge, huge help for a lot of creative people and us for sure.
Interesting. Very interesting. I've time for two more questions. How does a subscription-based video model help scale content production?
I have a quick question on that. Are we looking at this from the software, from the client perspective, or from the production perspective?
Production perspective.
Okay.
The producer, content producer's perspective.
Okay. So for the client?
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason why it's when it comes to like, you should always ask yourself as a marketer. Most of them want to do video, but you should always ask yourself, what does it take? What would it take for me to really create a positive impact on my company? And what would it take for us to win with video? And so then you start putting together, and again, this going back to thinking strategically. So then you make a list of those videos that you want to do. And so then you start thinking, you start putting together like, well, we probably want our executives to be on LinkedIn posting out videos because that'll be good. We also want to be supporting our salespeople because they probably need some videos to send to their prospects. On top of that, we also want some explainer videos for animated explainer videos for our explaining our solution or how we solve this problem in different verticals and different industries. So now you start adding, and then you start getting to about 10 to 15 different initiatives or ideas. So you quickly realize that, wow, like we need a video production team to win with video, because otherwise we're just going to make 1 or 2 videos. So the reason why the model works for them is because we can actually launch these ideas and reiterate and not have to get an SOW every time we want to try something new, or we don't have to get approval. Once you're in the subscription, it literally works like an internal team. It's like you have a team available to you.
Yeah.
And because we structured it with strategy and production, it creates this beautiful dynamic that we don't let you get too much into the weeds.
Correct.
Because the strategy is guiding you. And so we don't let you, when you bring ideas, we vet them and we say, hey, hold on. Is this good for the strategy that your CMO told us to focus on? Yes. How so? And if not, then okay, how can we make it fit there? Because this is a great idea, but we start producing and then it gets upstairs and then it gets shut down. Like, no, we cannot have that.
Correct.
So that's why they should always look at volume, and we help them with that. We usually create and we vet those ideas for them, and we help them reach that volume in a matter of months.
Fascinating. And my last question for you, Daniel. What role will VR, AR, and 3D video play in the future of marketing?
We haven't dabbled too much in 3D and AR and VR, but I know it's coming. I think, and this is just my opinion, I think that we're not going to see VR in the computer, in the digital world, right? I think we're going to see that more like in the in-person world. I think where VR and all these different technologies are going to take place in-person events. And so I don't know what events your audience go to, but basically you can have like, I don't know, SaaSter or SaaS Talk or Inbound or all these different events. I think that's where we're going to start seeing these experiences become alive. And because obviously they're going to be very pricey in the beginning, but over time they're probably going to bleed into more smaller type of events. And that's my idea.
That's a good start for people to start thinking. But on that note, Daniel, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking to me about SparkPortal and video as a service. I think we covered a lot of ground, covered some very interesting thoughts that you gave us on SaaS, on WaaS, on how video is an essential growth model. You also spoke to us about AI and told us a little bit about subscription-based video. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website, www.tbcy.in, to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.